Any discussion on feeding a growing world population would be incomplete without including the work of Dr. Norman Borlaug. Borlaug is believed to have saved more than 1 billion lives in developing countries in the 1950s and the 1960s. He's known as the father of the Green Revolution for his development of high-yielding strains of drought and disease-resistant wheat. Borlaug won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1970. He passed away in 1999. Earlier this year, a bronze statue of Borlaug was placed in the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. Mark DeMarcus Paul Yeager shows us how the statue was designed and built.
I grew up on the land, on a small farm in northeast Iowa. This farm was composed of only 50 acres, only half of which was cultivated land. Life was not always easy.
To honor the man credited with saving more lives than anyone who has ever lived, a statue was commissioned to be placed in the U.S. Capitol. A Midwestern artist began work on the project in 2013, and the piece arrived in Washington last March. But the journey from conception to completion, like the work of Norman Borlaug, required a passion for excellence and painstaking attention to detail.
I want to flatter the good characteristics of Norman Borlaug. Obviously, I want him to be heroic because he was heroic, and he is heroic to all the people that he helped. But at the same time, you have to have that human side in the face, in the pose, to make them feel like they could walk off that pedestal. For me anyway, that's my style. That's what captures me in art when I view other artists' work. Like if it looks like it could just step out of that painting or step off of that pedestal, or it pulls me into it, then it feels like they're alive, they're real, and I can relate.
Remember to select for things that you need in your own country, back home, to fit your own situation. Those of you from India and Pakistan where part of your wheat is grown under irrigation, be sure you're selecting the short dwarf plants. This is a plant that's too tall for irrigated conditions of India and Pakistan, but under the dry or semi-dry conditions of Afghanistan is probably what you want.
I used the photo of him in this pose, the famous photo, and then just basically judged off of that comparatively to his height and, and figured it out pretty closely. This whole bronze process, which took about 4 months now, 3 or 4 months. And so in that process, like I said, goes through all these steps and all these hands and artisans that are experts in their field. And then when they finish out the piece and you get it exactly how you want it, then it has to be taken to the site and based as well. So it's a lot of process involved, and I think most people don't realize what goes into just creating one single statue. I had a mold maker come up from Loveland, Dan Oaks, and made the molds right in my shop. Then we loaded up the molds, crated them up, and shipped the crates to the foundry here in Berkeley, where they poured the waxes and chased the waxes and then sent them through the lost wax casting process, ceramic shell and burning out the wax and then refilling those ceramic shells with molten bronze, and then cracking off the ceramic shell and then having the bronze finished piece welded together, chased, and then of course at the stage we're at now with the patina, the coloration. And so each step takes experts in that field, and so the foundry has workers that work just in that area, and they're particularly skilled in that area, and they'll manage that little portion of the process, and at the end you have a great bronze piece, hopefully.
I think it is important for us to periodically modernize the message of Statuary Hall. There was no single person who dedicated agriculture in all of those statues. Now there will be.
Looking at it, it's just so fulfilling to see him in here in Statuary Hall, in his place, where he should be. I mean, it's just amazing.
And I am not one to sit idly by and see man breed himself into a corner by increasing his numbers faster than food production is being increased. And if I have anything to contribute to this world, when I know that our scientific facts are right and we have materials that can be brought together in a meaningful production program, I'm going to play that card and play it hard.
But I think if Norm were here today, he would want someone else to be acknowledged as well. Because Norm didn't do this by himself. As great as he was, as visionary as he was, he needed partners. And those partners were the farmers of the United States and of other countries.
His work was at the forefront of a 50-year period that has been described as the single greatest period of food production and hunger reduction in all of human history. Not bad for a farm boy from Cresco, Iowa.
Now his legacy and pioneering work will be on display to educate and inspire millions of people who come here to visit the United States Capitol.
You know, and I think because he grew up on a small farm, he knew want, and thereby he could identify with the rest of the world's small farmers.